Hello fellow YouTubers, today is Sunday, October 28th, and it's been a very pleasant day today. It's been coolish, a little overcast with a few little showers, and but it's been very nice indeed. And my little Fitbit unit, where is it? There it is. Good grief, there it is. Just gave me a little nudge and I got 100 steps to do, so I'm going to go and do my 100 steps, which is one of the advantages of the things. They're worth it for that much. They give you a little nudge and it pops up on the screen. You've got to do a little bit of walking or some steps. I think it's worth it, just for that. Because normally I wouldn't do it. But now I'm heading off and I'm just going to do, won't take you along for the 100 odd steps, paces, walkies. Yes, as you can see, it's a little bit overcast and there is some rain over this way to the northwest. There could be some coming in from the southwest, but perhaps later tonight. But I tell you what, everything's looking beautiful here in the backyard. This herb garden is really doing well, and the fishies are happy. Everything's coming along pretty well. The lawn was done yesterday. I didn't do it, my wife got the mower out. I did the edges, but look how quickly they grow. They were only done 5 days ago. Anyhow, so I just go and do my walk. I've got to be careful I don't walk onto any doggy doo-doo. The yin and the yang. Yes. Oh, we did another little job this afternoon. I had to make up this frame because my wife has now decided to put some more little pots on it to grow strawberries, like she's done here. Got 2 of them. So, got that idea from a neighbour across the road, because what happens is that it keeps the slugs and snails away from them if they're growing on the ground like they are here. There. Yes, but everything's looking pretty good. This wisteria growing like crazy, but it's got to have all those tendrils cut off. That'll be another job. Okay. Yes, so everything's looking pretty good. No, there's Bailey. Yes, thank you, Bailey. Yeah, it's for the money you spend on it is what I was trying to say. Yeah, the $260 it cost me, this Fitbit Versa. It's worth it because it gives you this little nudge that you can't ignore. and it's time to do a little bit of walkies. And I think it's worth it just for that, because you make plans to go and do a little bit of exercise, and you get stuck in doing something else, forget all about it. You know what I mean? And but this thing gives me a little nudge, and I go out and I do the walkies. Yeah. But right, enough of that. Yesterday, my wife, when we're sitting at the kitchen bench having lunch or whatever, she often will go onto Facebook on her iPad. And I'm not interested in the things. Oh, you should see this. Oh, this is really... Well, I go and have a look, of course. And sometimes what she shows me is funny. But sometimes it's not, even though she thinks it is. Because I don't, she thinks there's something wrong with me. Anyhow, yesterday we're sitting there having lunch. And there was something about a donkey that wasn't quite normal. It had only one eye and something. I can't remember what it's called, but there was a book about it, and evidently she'd seen this lady reading the book on Facebook, and she said it was hilarious. But that's not what she showed me. What she showed me was someone had written a song or put a tune to the words in the book. And she said, oh, have a look at this, it's really funny, really funny. So I started to watch it. Of course I would. Maintain the status quo. And she said, you really got to listen to it. I said, well, I've already taken my hearing aids out because I've been using the power tools only about 10 minutes beforehand. Anyhow, so I cut my hands to my ears. And I'm listening, and she said, you got to listen to every word. Listen to every word. I said, I'm listening. And going on and on. She said, make sure you listen to every word. And I didn't think it was funny at all. And she said, oh, you got to listen to every word. You got to listen to every word. No, I didn't think at the end of it, that wasn't very funny. She said, no, it wasn't as funny as the lady reading the book. Oh, yeah. Why did I tell you that? I don't know. I have no idea. And yesterday, again, we'd gone shopping. Now, where did we go? Went out to the plaza. No, hang on a minute. I'm just got to think. Where did we go? We went into town. I can't remember. Well, I do know that I bought a book. For the first time in a long, long time, I bought a book to read. Of course, you buy a book, you read it. And because I haven't done any reading for quite a while. Normally when I go to bed in the past, I would just prop myself up and read for half an hour or so. But I hadn't done that for a year or more because I just didn't feel like reading anymore. Just didn't feel like it. I just one of those things, I suppose. It's like when I go on Netflix, it depends what mood I'm in, what sort of movie I watch. You know, I can like a movie, really like a movie, but if I'm not in the mood to watch it again, then I won't. Do you know what I'm saying? But I hadn't been reading for quite some time. And but last night was the first time. And of course the book I bought was the latest book from Stephen King, my all-time favourite writer, author. And I can't remember what it's called now. Holy smoke. Oh, good God. Jeez. I should have brought it down to show you. Anyhow, I started reading again. Did it make any difference the way I slept? I don't know. Perhaps. Well, but yeah, I can't remember anything. I'm just trying to think what. Anyhow, I'm not worried too much about it, am I? And what I was reading about Jeremy, what was it? He was and God knows the world could use a lot more people like her. This is Ruth we're talking about. even though she was at times an out-and-out sticky beak. Right, this is next, because I got next written there. Thinking out loud, Jeremy said, "Today's what?" He didn't know what day it was when he woke, and he still wasn't sure. I've been there. Wednesday, Natalie reminded him. Natalie's his sister. Yeah, right, Wednesday. So I wouldn't imagine the funeral would be early the next Monday. Would it? Probably. Anyhow, Brenda will be in touch. Yes, of course she will. So, brother, how are you? Oh, I got it. Little bug there. Natalie asked, changing the subject. Oh, I'm fine. Had a real weird day, though. You know, one of those days. Tell me about it. Jeremy was still telling his sister about it 20 minutes later. But only because he knew she wanted to talk. Or at least listen to a friendly and familiar voice. But when he said his goodbye and hung up the phone, he suddenly realised the feeling in his gut was still there. Uh-oh. But of course it would be. On this unbelievable day of just another day. He had thought at that moment that maybe he should phone Doreen and inform her of his father's passing. But the next moment he thought he wanted to spit. The next he didn't really need to. And the next he was standing before the kitchen sink, looking out the window, but not seeing. Staring at nothing deep in thought. A minute, maybe two, then mumbled, I better go check on that burner. Well, it's a burner in the shed. Now, if you've been listening to this, you would know what I'm talking about. So don't ask me what burner. Passing the laundry tub, he stopped and spat. Spat again. Then turned on the cold water tap and sluiced his lips and chin. And bugger it. Don't tell me I put that bloody towel into the linen closet. Cursing under his breath, he shook his hands to get the water off. Wiped his mouth and chin with the back of both hands. Yeah, he didn't. I thought about finishing off with the front of his shirt, but decided not to. Made to move off, but hesitated, racking his brain for a moment or two because he couldn't, for the life of him, remember what the hell he was going to do next. Then his mind cleared and he stepped outside. But as Jeremy slotted first his left foot, then his right into the gumboots, he knew the feeling in his gut had nothing to do with the gas burner. For he was almost positive he had turned it off. Something he kept telling himself continually as he made his way toward the shed where, upon entering, he said out loud in self-congratulatory tone, "See, I knew I turned it off." Then a thought, a possibility. Maybe I didn't, and it did burn itself out. But when he applied pressure to the gas bottle valve, he was met with firm resistance. No, I was right all along. And as he stood looking down at the burner while vigorously rubbing his stomach with the palm of his left hand, I know all about that. He suddenly remembered something else that had totally slipped his mind. Just gone. So caught up he had been with recent events, and he mentally chastised himself for his forgetfulness before saying one word. David. Leaving the shed and deciding to bypass the house, even though he didn't like wearing gumboots, he balomped, one of the reasons why, to the side gate, opened, stepped through, and closed the gate behind him. Some old habits never die. Always leave a gate as you find it, his father had said. Then blomped further onto his friend's front door, with his feet sliding fore and aft inside, the boots with every step. The main reason he didn't like wearing boots, I don't either. They slip inside because they, they're usually just a little bit too big and they move. But of course, he wouldn't. But even though the two cars were parked under the roof of the double carport, Jeremy's knocking failed to receive a response, which didn't surprise him at all these days. He would have been surprised, no, amazed, even not too distant past, if David's car had been there and he wasn't. For David's motto then had always been, why walk when you can ride? But things were different now. Jeremy had expected David's promise to change his way of life had been an empty one, spoken at a time of extreme physical and psychological duress. And once he fully recovered, he'd recidivate. But no. He'd done and was doing everything he said he would do. And with gusto. And Jeremy found his born again, sometimes mightier than thou, patronising attitude a real pain in the arse. And it well and truly pissed him off. Putting up with Ruth's die-hard convictions had always been easy. But now she had David to bolster her beliefs, criticisms and damnations. Jeremy was being blasted with both barrels of pious propaganda and bullshit. Good grief. Like it had been following dinner last night. Oh, the evening had started pleasant enough, sipping coffee and tea and talking about world and local events, the cost of living, comments made and opinions changed as to Prime Minister Rudd's leadership. Gee, this was written quite a while ago. All of whom thought, if nothing else, that he was, at least for now, a welcome change from Mr. Howard. And the fact that he could speak fluent Mandarin, made him an impressive individual regardless of his politics. But following a brief talk about David and Ruth's 30-year marriage, the conversation became a little heated not long after Jeremy asked, "So, David, what do you find it hard no longer smoking and drinking?" "Well, sometimes, but on the whole, life is so much better now." He looked at his wife then, with a smile. And as he held her rapt gaze, added, "Now I know why my dearly beloved has always found life so fulfilling and rewarding." Jeremy nodded with raised eyebrows, thinking about but deciding not to shoot a glance at Doreen before he said, "Well, that's good. I'm happy for you." And he was happy for his friend, but happy for Ruth too, for if anyone deserved a change for the better, it was she. But as much as he wanted to delve into those changes, he thought better of it. Let sleeping dogs lie. He also thought about asking David about the light, but a question like that coming from an atheist and die-hard skeptic, even one who was truly interested, would be pushing things. So he changed direction with a non sequitur. Not secateurs, you're using the gut. Sequitur. S-E-Q-U-I-T-U-R. "So, when can Doreen I look forward to one of your and Ruth's delicious Sunday lunch barbecues?" "Been a while." "We were thinking about this coming Sunday, as a matter of fact," David replied. "We'll look forward to it." "You might be disappointed, though, Jeremy," Ruth said with just a hint of sarcasm. "Why?" "Because Stephanie might not be there." "Oh, jeez. So?" "Oh, come on, Jeremy. We all know you can't keep your eyes off her." Well, yeah, Jeremy said lasciviously, lolling his tongue and panting. Goodness, how do you put up with him, Doreen? Now, Ruth, he's not the only one. Isn't that right, David? Used to be, yes, I admit that, but not anymore. She's pretty hard to ignore, Jeremy said. Well, unless you happen to see her away from our home, she will be from now on, Ruth said. Put the fear of God into her, did you? Jeremy quipped. That's the sort of thing I'd expect from you, Jeremy Wilson. Jeremy knew from many past experiences that when Ruth called him by his full name, she was becoming agitated. No, it wasn't Ruth but me, David said abruptly. Oh, right. Weren't expecting that, were you? Ruth said, glaring at Jeremy. No, but I'm not surprised. Good grief, Jeremy, why can't you just resign yourself to the fact that things are different now? David said testily. You can say that again, Jeremy knew how thrown down the gauntlet about those words. And by God, wasn't he ready to cross swords? You're such a Philistine, do you know that, Ruth said? Do you mean Philistine with a capital P? Or Philistine as in uncouth and boorish? Ruth's lips disappeared and she rolled her eyes. Obviously thinking the question wasn't worthy of an answer. And then said, why do you find it so hard to accept what's happened? I mean, you've always ridiculed my beliefs. And now you're alienating your best friend. I just don't understand. And you probably never will. What do you mean by that? Look, Ruth, you seem to think I don't approve the change that David has made to his life. And you're right, but only as much as become the mirror image of you. Jim held up a hand to ward off a rebuke before he continued. I don't care that David has found God. That's his choice and so be it. But what I do care about is that you have joined forces to become the Megatron of all sanctimonious do-gooders. You never miss a chance to thrust your beliefs down my throat, while all the time you're trying to get Doreen on your side because she knows she believes in God. We do not, Ruth postulated. Yes, you do. How many times have we had a debate about religion? You've turned to Doreen and asked if she believes in God, knowing very well that she does. Then say that all we have to do is work on Jeremy. But only ever said in jest, Ruth replied sheepishly. You take your religion too seriously to joke about. Any of it. Do you think that way too, Doreen? Don't bring me into this, Ruth. I'm happy to sit here and listen. So what if she does, David said. That I do too. There's nothing wrong with that. Well, basically that's true. But then more wars have been caused by religion than anything else. Are you saying we are at war? David asked. No, definitely not. All I'm saying is that maybe you both should tone it down a bit and let people be happy with their lot in life, whatever lot that may be. You make it sound like bad people, Ruth said. Jeremy smiled. Not at all. You're good people. But just stop for a moment and think how Stephanie must feel, knowing that you've laid down your moral judgment. Ruth has never liked the way her sister flaunts herself. Surely you know that, David said. Yes, I do. But does it really matter? Is it so important, Ruth, that you're prepared to alienate your own flesh and blood because of something that is really nothing more than a storm in a teacup? Not to me it isn't. But why? Because it makes me feel uncomfortable. knowing that men are ogling and thinking evil thoughts about her. Bad enough with you, Jeremy, as it was with David too. But at least I always knew she would never come to any harm. But out and about is a different story. And I live in fear that one day she will fall victim to some psychopath who will have his way with her and kill her when he's finished. And I pray, oh, how I pray, that will never happen. Jeremy didn't know what to say. What could he say? What could anyone say? It won't happen? It could. You're being paranoid? But was she? Mark will protect her? But was he capable of doing that? Someone say something. Anything, Jeremy thought. The silence is deafening. I didn't know that, David said as he placed a consoling hand on her forearm. Never entered my head that you worried about or even thought about her vulnerability. Oof. That's because you're not a woman and have a sister, Doreen said. Sisters always worry about each other, especially when one is an extrovert. I know, my sister was a real tomboy when we were growing up and I was always concerned about the mischief she got up to. Yes, that's all well and good, Jeremy said, but you can't live in fear of someone about what might or might not happen to them. It's totally out of your control. Yes, it is, I know that. And if it wasn't for my faith, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt I'd be a basket case by now. This time it was Ruth who held up a hand to hold off a reply from Jeremy. I know what you're going to say. Why? Well, for a moment or two she looked down at her knitted fingered hands, resting on her lap as if she was deep in thought, putting words together perhaps, or maybe saying a prayer, before she continued. You see, Stephanie is 12 years my junior. No revelations there. Granville, fetch a cloth. But because she was the result of an unexpected and somewhat unwanted pregnancy, my mother and father considered her being a bit of an inconvenience. I know that sounds a little harsh thing to say about one's parents, but believe me, it's true nonetheless. Anyhow, I won't go into the whys and wherefores, but suffice to say, they didn't show her the love they did me. The result of which first she gave her free rein to do whatever she wanted to do whenever she wanted to do it. And the older she became, the more outrageous her behaviour. And with me, it took the burden of responsibility. And you've been on a razor's edge ever since, Doreen said. Yes. But at least it's not as bad as it used to be now that she's married. I thank God for that. And Mark too, of course. So faith has been your salvation, Jeremy said. Has been since my early teens. You see, I was so stressed out about everything that was going on about me, I desperately needed to talk with someone. My mother and father wouldn't listen. Didn't want to listen. And everything I said to Stephanie went in one ear and out the other. I wasn't in a position to pay for a counsellor, so I joined the local church youth group. I was in a church youth group, believe it or not. Yes. I'm not going to go into that. That's all I'm going to say. Well, Jeremy said, I guess a person with faith would find talking to God the next best thing to a psychiatrist. And it's free. No. Faith is a wonderful thing, Jeremy, David said. It's changed my life. But your life needed to be changed. No doubt about that. And I thank God for it. Jeremy could think of all manner of responses to that statement. But he let it ride and simply replied matter-of-factly with one word, "Okay." "You see, Jeremy," Ruth said, patting her husband's knee, "miracles can and do happen." "I don't think so, Ruth," Jeremy replied. "Nothing would ever convince you then?" "No." "No." Then a thought. "Well, there is one thing I would call miraculous. And that's for my wife to look at me when we're lying in bed and say with intent, 'I really want to suck your cock.' Now that would be a miracle." Oh, oh, sorry about that. Sorry, tripod. Sorry, iPad. And now I will leave at it. And I will say thank you for watching. And thank you for listening. Oh yeah, I bought. Oh, that's what I got. I bought braces. You saw it out there, didn't you? Yeah, I was sick and tired of my shorts falling down. Yeah. And I thought I'm going to buy some braces. $35. Yeah, not cheap, but they work a treat. Oh, I was sick and tired of tying up the tie in the shorts real tight. I don't like tight clothes. And I thought I've had enough. If you're walking along, they still keep falling down. You have to stop and pull them up. So I bought a pair of braces. The only problem is that because they're underneath my shirt, if I want to go and sit on the loo, I've got to take my shirt off. So I can just flop the braces down. A small inconvenience. Anyway, 5:31. That's what it says here. So until next time, bye for now. Oh, I've got to write next again before I forget. Down here. Here we go. All right. Yes, I suppose that could be a miracle in Jeremy's eyes and mind. Yeah, it's never happened to him before.